Welcome to From the Den podcast, providing Bears and NFL fans alike with compelling news, discussion, and debate. I'm your co-host Benjamin, joined alongside my dear friend and co-host Oren.
Hey Benjamin, let's get right into it. As always, kickoff starts now.
Okay, so here's the question that I was talking about earlier. Where does Tarik Cohen fit in? Like, who will be involved more in this offense as a receiver? Will Tarik Cohen be like the wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3? Name a player, like name the two players that will be in between. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he'll be involved less than, so since you think Anthony Miller will be the wide receiver 2, for example, you say he'll be involved less than Anthony Miller, but more than Ted Ginn or something like that. Where do you think Tarik Cohen fits in the
He'll be
ranking?
involved less than Anthony Miller and more than Ted Ginn.
Oh, look at that. Perfect.
Not
in the offense, I mean, because of course he's going to have a lot of impact on the running game. I just mean in the receiving game, you still think that Tarik Cohen will have more of an impact.
No, actually, if it's all of that, then I'd put him behind Ted Ginn. I would put him between Ted Ginn and either Riley Ridley or Javon Wims, whatever happens.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that Tarik Cohen will be involved more as a receiver than those guys, which also lowers like their, because, you know, then you could say that they're a wide receiver 5 on this team because you've also got Tarik Cohen. So that also just lowers the reasons why Riley Ridley and Javon Wims could break out because they're so low on the depth chart, especially when you're considering Tarik Cohen.
Yeah. So I would say the reason that I have him I have him between Ted Ginn and the two receivers that I talked about earlier is because I think that he may play a few more snaps than Ted Ginn because I think that the Bears like to put him in on third downs and on plays that it's clearly a passing play. And the Bears like to use him in the sense that they like to put him out as a receiver, but also Tarik Cohen is in more catching plays and receiving plays and passing plays than David Montgomery, which I think is a part that if there's usually a running back in on passing plays. So I think that Tarik Cohen may play a few more snaps, but Ted Ginn is still the receiver. Ted Ginn will still have more of a role in the offense, I think, than Tarik Cohen.
Right.
And
yeah, because more of a role in the offense, or you mean passing game, right?
In the passing game, yes. And like I was talking about earlier, you don't want two speed receivers in the same play. But the difference is that let's say you have Tarik Cohen going deep and Taylor Gabriel going deep, I think that kind of ruins the play. I think if you have them like crossing or doing something like that.
Well, of course, Nagy has to scheme well for them, but I think if Nagy is smart about it, then he could definitely implement two of those similar players.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair to just classify them as merely speed receivers. I think that Tarik Cohen is way more than a speed receiver. I think Ted Ginn can do more than just running fade routes, even though I think, yes, he is primarily a speed receiver, and he is a little washed up. But still, I have faith that Nagy will be able to involve Ginn more than just running fade routes every time.
And now I hate to be like the devil's advocate, but why do you have faith in Nagy that he'll do that? What did Nagy do last year? He used Tarik Cohen in bad ways. Tarik Cohen had actually a solid amount of receptions.
Well, okay, Oren, do you think that Ted Ginn is specifically do you think Ted Ginn is only a speed receiver, right? Not your devil's advocate, just you.
No, I think that mostly is only a speed receiver. He's not.
Well, I'm saying even if Nagy is making a bad judgment, then he could put in Ted Ginn running routes that he's not comfortable doing. But that wasn't the point I was making. That was just refuting the devil's advocate. But still, I like to be positive with Nagy because he did win Coach of the Year in 2018. So I like to think
Coach of the Year means nothing. Coach of the Year
Okay. I understand Coach of the Year is dumb. But it has to – if your team goes 12-4 from being terrible last year, it means the coach must have done something well. The coach can't be terrible. And just looking with your own eyes, you could see how creative Nagy is in implementing creative plays. Now, in 2019, it did turn a little gimmicky, as we discussed a little bit in the last episode. It did turn gimmicky, but knowing how creative Nagy's mind is, I still have faith that he'll be able to implement Ted Ginn in other ways aside from just fade routes, even if maybe it could be gimmicky. I'm just saying, I'm not talking about how effective this will all be. I'm just saying in terms of if Nagy will involve him.
Well, I think that it's interesting, but I kind of have to disagree because I'm not sure that I think Nagy he proved in 2018 that he was a good coach, but 2019 he seemed like a different person. And I don't know which one we're getting, the 2018 or the 2019 one.
I'm saying in both years, Nagy tried to do weird things. Weird was the first word that came to my mind. Just, innovative or different play calls. In 2019, they were gimmicky, sometimes stupid. On the Chargers game, they were at like the 3-yard line, and he called a passing play to only literally one wide receiver. That's just an example of a very stupid gimmicky play. I understand he did some dumb things in 2019, and I'm not arguing the effectiveness. I'm just saying, knowing how creative. Okay, can you agree with me that in both 2019 and 2018, Nagy was creative? Not saying that. Okay, so knowing that he's creative, I think that he will be able to implement Ted Ginn in a creative fashion, whether that is effective or not. Okay, so that was just the point I was making.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or, if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.